In this video, we will see how we can print our layouts that we prepared in AutoCAD and then use them in other applications, like for example GIMP, which is the open source, or Photoshop or other similar application, or how we can work directly inside AutoCAD to add some effects like images, backgrounds, renderings, and other things that we can do also using other software. Now, AutoCAD, it's more for technical drawings, but we can still use some graphic design inside, as you can see here. So I will talk about also how you can insert silhouettes and other type of images that can help you to make your sheets look a little bit more interesting. So let's get started, and let's start with the first layout here. So usually when you create a project, I'm gonna delete this stuff here. Okay, so usually when you prepare your project, you want to print something right away. Now you can do that by using the printing feature from here, and you can use batch printing or plotting, or you can do just the simple plotting of a single sheet. Now I'm gonna show you here also. These are the settings that we're gonna use, but before we get into deep with this, I want to show you how everything starts usually. So as we saw, usually when you start to create your first layouts, AutoCAD is gonna use the standard A4, which is a format pretty common in every office and every house. So you can do a quick printing of your project by using this format here. Now all you need to do is define the scale. If you didn't do this in a layout, you can do it right away from here. So basically you have two ways you can start to print and preview your project. One is directly using the model space and define the settings on the fly for the printing, or else you can use the layouts that you have prepared before. Now in our case, we already prepared a bunch of layouts here that we can use, but let's assume that we didn't do that and we are here still in the model space and we want to print something real quick. So I want to print, for example, this plan view. So I go here, continue with a single sheet, and now I need to set up everything. Now the first thing I probably want to set up is a page setup so that I can reuse it many times. So I can do add, and let's call this quick print A4 format. So this is gonna be the standard thing that we're gonna do. And then we need to define printer or plotter. So if we have a printer or plotter installed in our house or in our office, we can use it. Or also we can be connected through a Wi-Fi or something like that. Now if we don't have that, we can select like Microsoft Print to PDF, or we can select these other presets. So let's say, for example, we want this AutoCAD PDF high quality print, and here we saw that we also have other formats that we use to create our layouts here, like the A1. So in this case we're gonna keep it standard and simple with the A4. Okay, now other things we can set here, we have other things. You can set some extra plotters here, but this is a little bit more advanced. You can also import, so don't worry about that, that's a little bit more advanced, but you can go into deep if you want and check all those values. Now we will get to the more important parameters here, which is the plot area. What do you want to plot? Now if you are in a layout, you will probably plot the layout itself, but since we are not using the layout yet, we can decide if you want to plot the display, the extents of your project, and it's gonna show you here how it's gonna look like. So you can always check a preview before you actually move forward to print. So if I say preview, you can see that this is not looking pretty great because most of the page is blank and the project, it's all placed down there. It's small and a lot of lines are pretty thick, so it's not particularly good. So I'm gonna close it and go back here. So each time you do a setting, you can always check how it's gonna look like. And again, this is too small, not good. So I'm gonna close it and go back here. Now I think that one thing that I should do right away is to change the drawing orientation from portrait to landscape. And again, let's run a preview, and I'm gonna use the limits now just to show you different options. Okay, now I cannot see anything, so you can see how things could get out of hand. Now window is probably the best because it's gonna let you specify what part of your project do you want to see in the paper. So I'm gonna click here, just like I'm drawing a rectangle. I'm gonna get only that area, and it's showing me here also with the red if something is not gonna fit or it's near the border. So let's preview. Okay, now that's definitely better. This part is a little bit outside because the paper is pretty small, but the rest is fine. So I have now a nice zoom. I can maybe see some dimensions. I think that's too small to be printed, but you can see it in a PDF because PDF it's vector, but then when you're gonna print it, I don't know if that's gonna be visible. So be careful about that. Be careful that everything that needs to be seen is visible. And you can also check for other mistakes or errors that you could fix. For example, here I can see that these two lines are part of the door and these are thinner than the representation here of the wall, so I need to change that. So by doing previews, you can definitely control or manage mistakes and things that are wrong. Okay, so we can print this right away so that we can show it to our client or whoever is interested. But also, if we want to do something more precise, we can define a plot scale. Now, remember that we talk about scale about the annotative. So here you can say fit to paper. So it's gonna define automatically the scale, and it says here that 1 millimeters is equal to 93 units. So this is not a defined scale. If we want to change that, instead of saying fit to paper, we can say, okay, let's try to 1 to 100. So this means that 1 millimeters in the paper, it's 100 millimeters in the drawing. And say preview, and it's telling me the annotation scale is not equal to the plot scale. Do you want to continue? Yes, don't worry about that now. Okay, now you can see that it still fits, but we can move it a little bit, but it's there. Well, actually before it was 93, so 100 is pretty close. So I can probably try to define a little better the window, get here and check the window again, but let's try to move it a little bit more, but probably it won't fit, so don't worry about that. We're gonna, yeah, this time I make it fit exactly. So this is one way if you want to plot directly on the first paper that you have. Now another important part is the plot style table. So if you set none, it's gonna print all the colors and everything that you define here in the layers. If you want, you can change it and use grayscale, for example. So you're gonna set here some pen assignments or some pen sets.